Welcome to Talking Giants presented by SeatGeek. I'm your host, Bobby Skinner, here with my co-host, Justin Pennick, and it's wave 2 of free agency. A little bit of a come down from the Brian Burns, John Runyon Jr., Jermaine Elmanor, and Devin Singletary signings. And the Giants brought in a backup quarterback in Drew Lock, a DB/safety in Jalen Mills, and another former Bills player and wide receiver, Isaiah McKenzie. Justin, how you feeling about these New York Giants?
Yeah, it's pretty cool seeing a lot of these guys come in the building. The power struggle handshake between Brian Burns and Brian Dable was certainly awesome. And him coming in here being excited. How do you feel about the nickname Spida? Are we gonna embrace that, or is that just gonna be a thing that we forget about?
I'm sure it'll be we'll use it in tweets, but I'm not. It's just not a nickname that rolls off the tongue. Like, what's up, Spida? It doesn't sound right coming out of my mouth.
I thought of an idea of. I almost wanted to do parkour around my house and do pew pew pew.
Glad
pew.
you didn't. Justin, this episode was brought to you by some special people before we break it all down. Saquon Barkley. Unfortunate timing on that signup.
A little bit. DJ
Giggity. Daniel Jones Giggity. Andy Berta. Not Roberta, just Berta. Dan Sheridan, that's a generic Madden name. Kemper Hessing, he likes Kemp. Troy Gordon, not Jeff Gordon, not Robbie Gordon. Troy. Mr. Glizzy is back. Gary Waldman, Susan Waldman's uncle.
Yep. Max
Bader. There's some baseball player named Bader who's related.
Bader.
Yeah. Matt Minogue, not Auerogue, a Minogue. Steven Pinchek, he checks the Pines. Tom Hubel, not Drubel, he's Hubel. IMJT3, I'm not even going to make up anything for that. And then Ishan Modi, stuck in Modi again. Justin, who are these people?
Oh, these wonderful people. They went to patreon.com/talkinggiants. There's one G in there in case you didn't know. Patreon.com/talkinggiants. You can hang out with us live while we record the shows. Bobby Skinner and I, there's some shirt raffles that happen a couple times a month, and Bobby will send you some stickers in the mail. When you were reading off Patreons, Bobby, I was thinking about Glenda Jones. I hope she's okay.
Yep, Daniel Jones' grandmother. One of the guests of the show.
She called the show.
Go check out the best of Talking Giants we did last year, 2 years ago. Justin, before we get into the new signings, the Eagles may be in a little bit of trouble. The league is investigating them for tampering. And a supposed conversation where Saquon Barkley was talking to his former Penn State head coach James Franklin before the legal tampering window had closed, and saying what their pitch was to him, and Howie Roseman was talking about being from Penn State fans are Eagles fans and it's close by and all that. So James Franklin slipped up in doing that. Kirk Cousins is also being invested. The Falcons are investigated for Kirk Cousins. So I don't know what's going to come out of this, Justin. And if it were any other team in the NFL, I would say, who cares? These teams all probably do this.
They all do it. But
the Philadelphia Eagles last year snaked their way to a higher draft pick with the Arizona Cardinals last year because of, they talked with Jonathan Gannon after the divisional round without having an initial interview, and they did it. So because it's the Philadelphia Eagles, I hope, I do care about this because they set a standard last year, right? And Howie Roseman went on Mike Florio's show and was very slimy about it and wanted an answer. Wolf. Yeah. And so now I am, one is the Eagles. I would be hoping they lose draft picks anyways. But now I actually think there's a leg for the league to stand on to, make an example of the Eagles and say, okay, now don't make a stink out of all this other dumb stuff like you did last year.
Yeah. Yeah. How about the pot calling the kettle black, huh? It's the way that Ryan Dunleavy worded this. Saquon Barkley says James Franklin misinterpreted the message. Howie Roseman's pitch about Eagles fans being Penn State fans was made through his agent. I did a video on Twitter where I was like, okay, yeah, this is how the conversation went. Where, this is Howie Roseman of the Philadelphia Eagles. Is this Saquon Barkley's agent? It's like, oh yeah, did you know that Eagle fans are in Pennsylvania? And Barkley went to Penn State, so he would care about that. Come on, we're not We're not idiots. But the thing is, I feel like all these teams do it. You're not negotiating these tens of millions of dollars deals, and okay, by 1:15 p.m. you come to an agreement when the legal tampering period starts at noon. I highly doubt that that's how all this works. But again, the Eagles cried wolf last year of the Cardinals doing it, and then they got an extra draft pick out of it. So I think that we should do the same exact thing. I think the Eagles should give us a 4th round pick, and it goes away. Goes away.
I don't know exactly how it went down with Arizona, but it seemed like they figured out the compensation to, backdoors to make it where the NFL didn't have to do an official punishment or whatever. I don't think the Eagles and Giants will be on good enough terms to do that. So the Giants most likely wouldn't get anything out of this, but the Eagles could lose a pick. And the Falcons, I think Kirk Cousins looked straight into the camera and said that he was talking with them before. So I would expect something to come out of that. But how are you? We've been through 4 days of free agency. This is coming out on Friday. This will be the 5th day of free agency. How are you feeling? I think there still needs a lot to be done. I think the Giants are kind of waiting for that second wave to end because they hit it so hard in the first wave. They're basically out of cap space before restructuring guys. That I think they're waiting for the second wave to end, and that's where they're going to go and try and find the bargain free agent deals in that third wave.
Yeah, for sure. I'll touch on some of the other guys that we did sign. Burns is just cool to get him in the building. He's gonna be a really good player for us. I know we kind of nitpicked it a little bit, but he's a really good football player. I think he's gonna do really well here. I watched another game of John Runyon. I watched John Runyon versus Kalijah Cansey and Vita Vea, and I was pretty happy from what I saw. I thought John Runyon played really, especially well, kind of like in pass pro, and then even in the run game was getting a little bit of movement there. So I was excited what I saw there. Ella Munor, we said towards the end of the show, I think that's my favorite signing just from that value standpoint. Man, watching your film breakdown got me really, really excited. He plays nasty, plays a little bit of a mean streak. I think he is going to start at right tackle sooner rather than later. And also, he's just really thrilled to be here, which is it getting a little too much, maybe? But he's really thrilled to be here. You even called OC. It's hey, can I take your 72? And OC's yeah. So he's really thrilled to be here, and that's cool. As a fan, I like players who are enjoying being in New York and that genuinely want to be here. And I think he is actually good, too, which is nice.
Yeah, I'm excited to see how this defense pieces together, right? Because they went out, get Brian Burns, the big splash move. And now it's okay, now we, Kayvon take a step forward, and we've got 3 guys who can really get after it with the 2 edge guys, and then Dexter Lawrence. They're talking, the Titans are going to let him line up wide like he did with Carolina a little more. So that's when Brian Burns is his best, right? So letting those guys work, but I'm excited to see how the back end comes together. Because right now it's, you lose Xavier McKinney. Right now you have Dane Belton and Jason Pinnock as your starting safeties. Versatility's that's not a good starting safety group. No. We got Deontay Banks needs to take up a step up regardless, but they need to at least have a cornerback too, or someone that can come in and compete there. Nickel corner I still think is a question, although, they might be willing to roll with Cordell Flott. So I think there's pieces that need to be added, whether it's through the draft or free agency, but I think there can be some bargain, they've been able to get the most out of minimum corners under Jerome Henderson's tenure. So I think they'll probably go bargain bin hunting there, but maybe Tre'Davious White, or they bring back Adoree Jackson. But offensively, I think they should be set at wide receiver. I'm talking about just free agency, not the draft. Tight end, obviously, they're not going to touch in free agency outside of just a blocking tight end. The offensive line is very interesting because right now Josh Azudu would be a starting guard on this team. Are they comfortable with that? Are they going to look to address that with the second round pick, the only second round pick they have? Well, they want to hit it with the third round. So the roster is still far away, but this will be a key offseason in building up this roster with the rest of free agency and then this draft. You got 6 picks. You've got to really make these ones count.
Yeah, biggest offseason obviously so far. I feel like we're maybe saying that every offseason, but it's the truth. It's 100% the truth. You mentioned the wide receiver room, and I don't want to forget this. Isaiah Hodgins not coming back, and then you mentioned the defensive side of the ball. Nick McLeod is coming back.
Yeah, I had that in the show notes. Isaiah Hodgins was not tendered. As a restricted free agent, Nick McLeod was $3 million non-guaranteed. So you can see them possibly trying to renegotiate that. Ben Whitley, our guy, is back on a negotiated contract, so I'm assuming the minimum. Isaiah Hodgins, him not being back, with it being $3 million, and I think there could be a path for Hodgins to be back, or maybe he wants to go play somewhere else where he has more chance. And I like Hodgins. I think he's a useful player. It's hard to pay a guy $3 million to be possibly, like, he's going to be wide receiver 5 if they draft a wide receiver. He lost his playing time to Jalen Hyatt, which I agree with, even though Hodgins was a more complete player. But that speed, like, he just doesn't have that speed. He really cannot be someone that is going to do anything for you 20 plus yards down the field. It's not going to happen. He's not going to, even though he's 6'4", he's not going to make contested catches, nor is he going to put himself in a position to get those contested catch targets. So, useful player, a good red zone weapon, was a godsend in 2022. But it's hard to pay a guy who probably be wide receiver 5 and not a special teams player $3 million.
And I think he could be back.
Yeah, I would like to have him. I would like to have him as the wide receiver 5. Like, he's a useful player, but it's just $3 million is a little rich for Hodgins.
Yeah, absolutely, for sure.
On this roster. If they didn't draft Jalen Hyatt last year, I would say yes, clearly give him that $3 million. So it's not even about him individually. It's about the Giants wide receiver room right now. All right, Justin, let's get into these new players on the New York Giants. And we'll start with the quarterback. Drew Lock signed on a 1-year, $5 million fully guaranteed deal. Obviously, we all know who Drew Lock is, right? Came out in that 2019 draft class. Was someone that was rumored that Shermer might have liked. He goes to the second round to the Broncos. He was really bad in Denver, but I do think he's grown as a player in Seattle. He had 2 starts last year, went 1-1 versus the 49ers and the Eagles, completed 63% of his passes, had 477 yards in those 2 starts, and then 3 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. We even got a little glimpse of him for a drive in our game versus him.
Yeah.
He's gotten better while still willing to push the ball down the field. Now, he's not 2020 Drew Lock when he got a starting gig and he led the NFL in average depth of target and interceptions. But he's got more control of just the offense that he had in Seattle, and I don't think it'll be much of a difference. They were even running, when he was starting, they were actually running quite a few concepts that the Giants like to run. Now, there still is issues, right? He's not a starting level player. He's not as good as Daniel Jones. Like in the quick game, there's still bits and pieces of issues, right? Where it's not horrible. He's not blind, but he is late and just doesn't, read the conflict player quickly, right? Which will lead to missed throws, batted passes, or if you do complete it, it takes away the yak that was there for it. But you see some of the gunslinger mentality, for good or for better or worse. He's willing, like, he's got the ball, like, he'll throw the alert. You saw him in that final drive versus the Eagles was really cool.
Yeah.
Because one of the Eagles were stupid and ran the same coverage twice, right? So they run the coverage one time, the left safety, I want to do a film breakdown on the podcast right now.
There we go.
If you will allow me. So they line up in 2 high safeties, right? And you've got DK Metcalf out on the sideline. They rotate the left safety down, and the right safety, which is on the side, DK Metcalf, moves towards the middle of the field. He takes the chance. He throws the alert to DK Metcalf. The safety almost gets over, but he takes him off the ball, and DK Metcalf's able to make a play. Sick. Now for that game winner to JSN, they get in the same coverage. They just change the side of the safeties. The right safety is the one who comes down, the left safety. So as soon as he sees that, he reads that safety. Pulls the trigger to JSN, touchdown, and there was some other good stuff, him reading the safety. So he's gotten better as a player. He is a backup, right? If the Giants don't draft a quarterback because they're not in a situation to, like Daniel Jones is still the clear starter over Drew Lock, but it gives you, and this is one of the cheaper backup quarterback contracts in the NFL right now.
Yeah. You definitely do see that gunslinger, and I'm like, remember how we were watching Davis Webb during the summer, Bobby, when he was here? And we were saying, man, the dude's running around here, side-arming throws and slinging it, and he thinks that he's Josh Allen because he played with Josh Allen for a little bit. Drew Lock has a little bit of that in him where, hey, like sometimes I kind of want him to set his feet and throw a little bit, but he throws it on the run and it's kind of wild and, and he's slinging it. Like, that's legitimately what he's doing. And I actually do think, like, sometimes where he doesn't have his feet set, he could be a little wild, and he could be a little erratic, but that's why he is a 1 year, $5 million backup quarterback. I think Tyrod Taylor is better than him. But you would agree with that, right?
I don't think it's even a doubt.
Okay, yeah.
I mean, Tyrod Taylor got paid accordingly, and he's 10 years older than Drew Lock. Like it's not even a doubt. But I think I'm not one for investing big money in backup QB. I still do think the Giants would like to. I don't know what's going to happen with the Giants. Like, can we have some closure on what the Patriots are doing? Can we have someone clear cut report that they want to take a quarterback, because it's playing this mind game?
What's Josina say?
Yeah,
she's right.
I was just basically just reading into what I wanted to read in her tweet. That was just delusion by me, by saying they're going to attack wide receiver in the draft. So it'd be nice to have some closure on that, because Drew Lock obviously doesn't change anything for their quarterback plans, but it just, Joe Shane said we're going to have to address it in free agency, and then we'll look to it in the draft too if it's the right fit. So. I don't know, but I feel like we need closure on what the Patriots are doing, because if the Patriots are willing, then I want to trade up. If they're not, and the first three quarterbacks are Caleb Williams, Drake May, and Jaden Daniels in whatever order, well, then I don't want the Giants to draft a quarterback at 6, and I hope the Minnesota Vikings jump up to pick 4.
Yeah, and I think even the big team too is the Commanders, and it's not necessarily that they are going to take a quarterback, because they traded Sam Howell away, so they are taking a quarterback, but I think it's just a matter of which one. And if the Patriots are dead set on any of the the other two quarterback besides Caleb, and then that's the thing. If the Commanders wind up taking the Patriots quarterback, then the Patriots don't go quarterback, then it creates a very interesting situation for all teams that need quarterbacks. And the Giants would be the first team up that would need that quarterback if he were to fall, right? So yeah, that's the interesting thing. And I guess we kind of already knew that the Giants really want a quarterback. It's been the tea leaves. It's been the tea leaves for the last couple months. But the Drew Lock, it's 1 year, $5 million. And if that doesn't, nothing that the Giants did this free agency and with Drew Lock, none of this indicates that, the Giants are going to go quarterback this year. It's going to be a matter of if the quarterback is there, I really think they're going to take it.
Yeah, I think if anything, this free agency is like, they went out and traded Brian Burns and gave him the biggest contract. Like, if there's anything that you want to read into quarterback wise, it'd be like, okay, they're not kind of swallowing. Yeah. This year, like they're maxing out the cap. Maybe they are getting ready to take, a quarterback, but I don't feel like doing all that right now, or reading into stuff like that. But the point is, Drew Lock doesn't change that. But hey, we'll get to watch Drew Lock in training camp. Yeah. He gets to sing some songs that she loves to do. And I hope that we don't ever have to start him. But history says that we probably would. We'll have to.
Never say never.
But he did beat the Eagles, though, so that was a very fun moment for him on Monday Night Football.
Yeah, watch that game. Watch those game highlights on YouTube if you wanna get
watch
excited.
The film review. I broke it down. That
Nice.
He had 2 starts. I took 16 throws from each game and went through them. So good.
He actually has we'll be real. Like I said, I think Tyrod Taylor's better, and Tyrod Taylor's not a spectacular quarterback. He was pretty good for a very bad Giants situation last year, kind of even in EPA stuff. But Drew Lock has legitimately gotten better.
Oh yeah, he was horrible in Denver. Like it was really painful how bad he saw the field, how bad he dealt with pressure. Like so, watching him is like, okay, this is not the same Drew Lock we got in Denver, but there still is some issues with the quick game and stuff. And if he got 5-6 games of film out on him, maybe some of you've seen teams start to scheme up some stuff that confuses him. But hey, he's a solid backup. $5 million is cheap for backup quarterbacks now. You're really not getting a minimum contract backup quarterback anymore. Nope. So, you compare it to the deal Tyrod Taylor got or Joe Flacco got or other guys. So, yeah, solid deal for the Giants.
And the thing that excites me, it's no void year, no dead money. It's 1 year, $5 million, get out of it.
Yep. I want to talk to you about something, Justin. Today's episode is sponsored by SeatGeek. If you don't know what SeatGeek is, they're a ticketing app that makes buying tickets super simple. Buy tickets to Giants-Eagles this year when Drew Lock beats Saquon Barkley. With over 28 million downloads, SeatGeek is the #1 rated ticketing app. And guess what? When you use it, it feels like the #1 ticketing app. There are more than 70,000 events every single day on SeatGeek, including sports, concerts, festivals, and much, 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 much more. They've always wanted to make sure that you were getting a good deal. So when you're on the app, look for the green dots. Green means good, red means bad. I know that that's, something we tell the people. Do you think there's like one idiot out there who goes on the SeatGeek app without the warning of green means good, red means bad? It's like, okay, I need to look at the red deals because
red means hot.
Yeah, like these are the hottest deals that are out there. Is there one idiot out there? Don't be that idiot, but go hit on the green dots. Every ticket is backed by their buyer guarantee, and SeatGeek is the only site that lets you return your tickets ahead of the event with swaps. We've got the hookup. Use code GIANTS for $20 off your first purchase at SeatGeek. That's $20 off your first purchase with promo code GIANTS. Click the link in the description to download the app. You'll be glad you did.
Who's next?
I figured we go Jalen Mills next. I think he has more. Who has more of a chance to contribute on offense or defense? Isaiah McKenzie or Jalen Mills?
I think Jalen Mills has a better chance of making. Well, both of them could not make the team.
Let's just talk about Jalen Mills. He's next in my notes.
Let's just talk about Jalen Mills.
So Jalen Mills, a former corner. We know him from the Eagles. Odell burning him and making him look dumb. So the Giants signed Jalen Mills, who's been with the Patriots the last couple of years. He's gonna be 30 years old next month. He's played outside corner basically in his entire career, and until this past season, the Patriots moved him to safety. He played 35% deep safety, 30% box, 30% nickel, and then 5% outside cornerback. So the good, I'll start with the good watching his film, Justin, is that when you put him down in the nickel or in the box and put him in man coverage, he sticks with guys. Like even guys like Dalton Kincaid from Buffalo, I was watching him versus the Giants and he was locking up Daniel Bellinger a bit. He can be physical in those. So he has some good man coverage when he's facing tight ends. In the run game, doesn't like to play super physical, but he can make, plays in the run game, making guys miss and led to some negative plays. The issue though is that his first year playing safety, he just had no feel of playing zone as a safety, right? From when he was playing center field, he was late. His eyes would go the wrong ways. There'd be times where, your center field safety, you're supposed to read the QB's eyes. He would be fading away from the QB's eyes and it wouldn't make any sense. And then also times when he's playing, they'll blitz and play, man from deep, on a tight end. He just would totally lose leverage. He just doesn't have any feel for playing deep safety. Now, it was his first year playing there. Hopefully he could get a little bit better. But the man coverage is pretty solid. But at the end of the day, Justin, this is someone who is going to compete for the last safety spot on the roster, most likely. He hasn't been veteran. It's a veteran minimum contract. He's coming in here to compete for a roster spot, not a starting spot.
Yeah, 1 year, $785K. That's what it is. So, do you think there's any chance that he's transitioned back to the outside or
no?
Even in the slot? No, he's a safety.
I could see maybe the slot, but I mean, do you think the
slot is the spot that intrigues me?
Yeah, but it's not even slot as he plays nickel. It would be he's the third safety on the field on 3rd and 8, and you put him on the field, right? So it's you have the slot corner out there and him out there, and he's playing down towards the line of scrimmage. That's where he was his best this past year for the Patriots. But no, I don't see him as he could come in and compete for nickel corner. He's just gonna have slot reps if he makes the team.
Yeah, I'm all for that. Situational guy if it gets at its worst. Is he a special teamer? That's something I wanted to look up. I have his Pro Football Reference.
He's got a handful of kickoff and kick return reps.
It's not really 17, 8, 21. He had 82 in 2020, which is only 20%. The most share of special team snaps that he played in his career was 24% in 2018, 52. So he's not even we signed this guy for special teams value too. So
yeah, he's going to compete for the last safety position. You have Dane Belton's better than him right now. Obviously, Jason Pinnock is. And hey, I'm excited to see what Javarius Owens can do this year. Maybe he can be like that third safety, depending on what happens, right? We'll see what Shane Bowen prioritizes. I mean, there's not a lot to say about Jalen Mills, but just besides the fact that the secondary does need work. Like, expect to see signings from the secondary, either while you're listening to this podcast or over the weekend. They're not gonna go into the draft just leaving that position void.
And if anything, I hate to talk about this, but it's a 1 year $785K deal, and I don't feel bad talking about it because it's not like paying Jonathan Stewart for leadership, but overpaying for that. He's been around for a long time. He's had success. He's a Super Bowl champ. He's played in a lot of different spots. He can maybe bring leadership to a very, very young secondary and an inexperienced secondary. Cool. I'm all for that. He also has to dye his hair blue.
Yeah. He had green hair. I know he goes as like the Green Goblin, but you just can't. I know, former Eagle. Like, you just can't have green hair.
No, Green Goblin is an enemy in New York City. You can't.
Yeah, we got Spider. We got Spider now.
You got Spider.
You can't be Green Goblin.
You're gonna be throwing those exploding pumpkins at him. Come on.
Yeah, can't throw those exploding pumpkins.
Nope.
Maybe you can listen to Smashing Pumpkins, but you're not gonna. You can't be throwing exploding pumpkins.
Did you side
freak.
tangent? This is the biggest side tangent in Talking Giants history. Did you watch Spider-Man 1 in theaters?
No, not in theaters. The Tobey Maguire one?
Yeah.
Not in theaters, no.
I thought it was the coolest
That's the only
scene.
one I've ever watched. The Tobey Maguire ones.
The coolest scene ever is when he's in the burning building and he's just he's like it's the thing with the blade, the ball with the blades, and he's like jumping and contorting his body. I think it's the coolest thing ever, and I watch it now and it's like, that's not the coolest thing ever. Side tangent over. Spider.
F you, Pikachu. Justin, the Giants also signed a wide receiver. This is someone that we thought the Giants would eventually bring in with this guy. And that's wide receiver Isaiah McKenzie. Spent last year with the Colts and then was with the Bills for 4 years before that. Last year for the Colts, didn't get any run or production, only 11 catches for 82 yards. Now, he did have 11 touchdowns in his 4 years with the Bills. And in 2022, when Brian Daboll left, they moved off of Cole Beasley. And Isaiah McKenzie was the starting slot. Like, you remember that Bills-Rams opener? Isaiah McKenzie scored a touchdown in that game. He was the starting slot wide receiver for the Bills. He was supposed to replace Cole Beasley.
I drafted him in fantasy.
Yeah, he had 42 catches, 423 yards, and 4 touchdowns that year. And the Bills adjusted because they're like, oh my God, like, we cannot rely on this guy. Right? One, he has a bad drop problem. Like, now he's quick, he's fast, he can make some moves, he can make some flash plays for you at the slot. He's 5'8", 173 pounds, he'll be 29 next month. But he was basically all like manufactured quick touches, right? He had an average depth of target of 7 yards, a slot only guy. One, he had a drop problem. He had a 10% drop rate the one season that he started in 2022. And the Bills moved off them, whether it was, playing John Brown, Khalil Shakir started to get more playing time. And then remember, they even brought back Cole Beasley. Like, Cole Beasley was their slot wide receiver in the playoff games in 2022. It's the drop problem. The route running is very like simplistic. And there's just like a lot of things that he screws up, right? Like, if you're running mesh, he'll run into the receiver, right? Like, not have like attention to detail and that type of stuff. Now, he is a returner, so maybe he kept on as like, I do think as of now he has a shot to make the roster. One is a returner, but how we joked about all the slot wide receivers. That's not the case for the Giants right now.
No,
it's just Wandale. Like, Jalen Hyatt's an outside guy, Slayton's an outside guy. They're only other, Wandale's their only slot wide receiver. So
I saw some beat reporters suggest Gunnar Olszewski, and that's not the case.
Gunnar Olszewski is not someone who can compete at wide receiver. If guys get hurt in the middle of a game, but Gunnar Olszewski is simply a returner, and that's it. But right now, if we just did our 53-man rosters right now, he would be on it because he's the only slot guy outside of Wan'Dale Robinson.
Yeah, and let me ask you this. Richie James, Isaiah McKenzie, better or worse?
Oh, worse.
Okay.
I know Richie had a rough year this year in Kansas City, but that also could be something the Giants could revisit too, is Richie James,
Yeah. Yes. You would think for somebody whose yards per reception is extremely low, he has a career catch rate of 70%. You would think that would be in the mid-70s.
And the low average depth of target. I mean, he's just not a very good, like, he just makes mental mistakes. He drops the ball. You know, there's no attention to detail in his game. You know, Brian Dable loves him, though. There's a story out there about, you know, their relationship and stuff. But right now he would be on the roster. So there's that for Isaiah McKenzie. Justin, why don't you talk to us about something?
I'll talk to you about something. I certainly don't mind Isaiah McKenzie as a backup slot receiver. There was a point in time where, you know, if you're a fantasy football player, Isaiah McKenzie was one of those like late round draft guys that you can maybe hit on.
Starting slot for the Buffalo Bills the year they were the most favored to win the Super Bowl, scored a touchdown in the Week 1 dismantling of the Rams. Like, you know, so
I was in on him.
So you
drafted him.
Maybe get him with Brian. Like, yeah. If he's the backup slot wide receiver and makes the roster, I don't have a problem with it.
Right. And having the versatility of returning kicks is always very good too. Oh boy, we've talked about The Deal before, right? Bloomberg's The Deal, because it's co-hosted by Yankees legend Alex Rodriguez. Yeah, The Deal. It's a podcast and a video series that you're not going to want to miss, and it's every week. Alex Rodriguez and Bloomberg reporter Jason Kelly, they're going to speak with big-time athletes, entertainers, and executives like Michael Strahan, Derek Jeter, and more. The Deal. They're going to take you behind the scenes into the world of sports, media, and entertainment and dive into the wins, losses, and some lessons learned along the way. I wonder how Alex Rodriguez feels about owning the Minnesota Timberwolves. That's something I'm interested in. From Bloomberg Podcasts and Bloomberg Originals, you can listen to The Deal on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. Bobby Skinner, you'll be glad you did. So would A-Rod.
We don't have much more because the Giants only made 3, minimum type signings since the last time. I mean, that Monday episode that Monday was just insanity. They did everything then. Well, obviously the next time that we record, there will be more signings for the Giants, but I don't want to spend too much time wasting time because they might make one in the next 2 hours and then we need to come and add it to the podcast. I will say Jermaine Elamunor, his Twitter presence has been very fun and he loves us, right? He said he's gonna get in the van. We're gonna bring him pizza. I know some other people were trying to, swagger jag us, but we're gonna get Jermaine Elamunor in the van and we're gonna give him pizza and he's gonna be a friend of the show.
I would love that. Seems like a
Here's
really cool
the thing
dude.
is, even though offensive linemen are all our friends, I also don't love it because it's like I do O-line reports and I will shit on you if you play really bad. Right? Like that was very weird, like when Justin Pugh was on the show last year and followed us and stuff, and it's like, all right, O-line report, Justin Pugh gives up 3 sacks and is really bad. And I think even Mark Lewinsky might start over him. With Andrew Thomas, we never have that worry. So
it's because he's good.
Yeah. Giants, make the call to Nick Gates. Make him the backup center. He hasn't gotten any calls yet. Offer him the vet minimum contract and make him the backup center. Huh?
Report. Can I also report something?
That's not a report.
Oh, never mind.
My source, I made it up.
I actually have you know what I'm going to say? I actually have a real thing.
Is it like rumor stuff? Is it something
no,
that's going to come true?
It's not a rumor.
I don't like doing
I know
rumors.
I know this for a fact. And it has nothing to do with the Giants' interest. If we're worried about the secondary and the safety room is thin, right? Jabril Peppers still has a house in New Jersey, and he very much welcomes a reunion with the Giants. That's what I know.
That would be fun.
Will it happen? Probably not. But he's still here. I think he's here in the offseason right now, and he would like a reunion with the Giants. That's what I know.
Okay. All right. So we're gonna keep this a quick episode. There's no point to ramble on and add more than we need to. So we truly appreciate you guys. We'll be back Tuesday if there's no big signings. Monday if there is a big decision, or hey, maybe it's so big. Maybe the Giants trade for pick 3 and we got to record a podcast on Saturday. How about that? Wouldn't that be something
please,
crazy?
No. I'm going on vacation this weekend.
Oh, a shout out. I'm going to get his Twitter handle right. Have you seen this Ricky guy on Twitter?
Yes. He's the biggest celebrity in the nation right now.
So on Monday, I saw people just tweeting about Ricky and Ricky's got the. I'm like, what does this mean? right? And then a Jags guy followed, like tweeted it, like something about like, how does Ricky have all? And I'm like, what is it? So I found the account, and he had like 800 followers or something,
Yep.
maybe 2,000 followers or something. I followed him, and I was just like, all right, I'm going to pay attention to everything he says, and he's been right, like it's just
About
like
everything.
and even like not stuff like where he's like reading the tea leaf stuff, right? Because who was that guy, like GT Bobby Thompson, like guys who read the tea leaves and act like they're insiders and just wrote no stuff, or it's someone who has like clearly a source with one person,
Yeah.
and they break the news on that. But I don't know what if he's a friend of an agent or what.
I mean, he broke the Calvin Ridley to the Titans, and
Yeah,
that's not
no,
that's
and
not
it
reading
was-
the tea leaves.
No, because the reports were like it's going to be the Jags or the Patriots, right? Like the big dog reporters were like it's probably going to be the Jags. The Patriots have made a big offer. He's like, no, there's a surprise AFC South team. So it's at Pretty Ricky. Now the Ricky is RICKEY 213. Like he's been balling. So
Yeah.
so I'm expecting it hasn't been perfect. Like yesterday, he tweeted out Hollywood Brown to the Chiefs. That hasn't happened. It still could, but it's like if it was done, it should be done now. But
Yeah.
also, no, he actually said that they might like do it after they could trade L'Jarius Sneed. So I want to give him a shout out. He's been he's been right on essentially everything.
I want to give another shout out and another plug while we have time. Jam Football, Bobby Skinner, myself, and Chris Rose we're all doing football today now, and I actually think today's episode was a lot of fun. It's crazy that we're all kind of getting we're trying to change the show up a little bit when there's just so much happening. So I'm really excited for news to die down a little bit so we can spend some more time on topics and stuff like that. But football today. If you enjoy Bobby and I, if you enjoy what we're doing, we really need. It's not like we're trying to grow it. We need to grow it. We kind of had a meeting this week that was like with some of the bosses, and it's like, yeah, this show needs to grow over the next year. So, especially for our podcast people, subscribe on there. And if you like podcasts and if you like long form stuff, it's us talking and yapping for another hour. So, it's called Football Today. Football Today. Boom.
All right, we appreciate you guys. We'll see you when we see you. Until then, let's go Big Blue.